Hey, I'm Rob from JestaThaRogue and this is my first impressions of Megacity Oceania that I played at Tabletop Gaming Live 2019, and it's for 2 to 4 players and plays between 45 and 60 minutes. And this is set in the Gold Coast of Australia. Because of rising population and rising sea levels, you are building these mega structures so people can go and live underwater, and whoever does that best wins. You get points from a variety of things. I'll go through all those at the end. And if you're watching the video there and you don't know anything about this game, you probably already figured out that the main mechanism is dexterity. You're going to be using dexterity to build your towers. You then need to push the towers into the middle of the table. And how this works is you have 4 action points that allow you to do 4 different things. One thing is to draw 3 pieces from the bag. The pieces are in 3 different colours, which is important. Another action is to take a card, and the cards show you what you need to do. For example, this is one of my cards, so this means the tower needs to be more than 45mm high. There is a little ruler that you can use to measure. It needs to include 7 different pieces, and all the pieces need to touch. And you can't use any of the light grey coloured pieces, and at the bottom there it shows it's worth 4 victory points. You can also take one of the tiles as an action point. And the final thing you can do on your turn is you put one of your colour cubes on the city to show that you own it, and then you need to push it from where you built it, which you need to build it in front of you. You push it into the middle of the table. As you can see here, somebody doing that very carefully, very tall building that they've got there, moving that towards the middle of the table. And while you're watching that, I'll just run you through a quick sort of typical turn. So basically what you tend to do on a turn on your go, you've got 2 action points. Usually you'll do something like maybe you'll draw 3 pieces, and then you'll start to maybe add the finishing touches to your tower, and then you'll use your second action just to push it into the middle of the table. That's basically a typical turn. And at the end of the game, you get points for completing different buildings. You also get points for different contracts, like who's got the highest building, who's got the most of a certain colour. If you've got one of each colour, you'll get sets for that. And whoever's got the most points wins. So it doesn't really do anything unique. Obviously, dexterity games have been around for ages. Pushing something that you've built, that is fairly unique, I guess. Similar games, there's 2 similar games spring to mind. The first one is junk art, but only because you've got plastic pieces and you're putting them together. But the one that it reminds me of the most, and this was reminded by the guy who was teaching, is blueprint, because you are not only building something and competing with all the players, you're using different coloured tiles, whereas in blueprints you're using different coloured dice. Here you're using different coloured plastic pieces which represent the different resource types, and also you're competing for contracts that you get at the end of the game depending on how well you're doing. So it's similar-ish to blueprint in a way. I'm not too sure about replayability. I don't know how long this would last. In a game like Junk Art, we've got all those different mini games that you can play, so every game you're going to be doing something different. Here you are doing the same thing over and over. There are some advanced rules that we didn't play with that sounded quite interesting, but again, it was pretty much more of the same, unfortunately. But I did enjoy my one experience of it. I'll tell you one downside though, is the box cover. Here is the box cover. It doesn't look like the game that it is. This looks like a heavy Euro, this box cover. I initially got the name confused with Bios Megafauna, which is a very heavy game. I did get the 2 games confused, so I was surprised when somebody said no, it only takes 45 minutes to play, because I thought it was a good 2-hour game. But yeah, all in all, I had good fun. If you've played this, please let me know in the comments what you thought of it. If you haven't played it, what do you think of it based on what you've seen? Also, this is a new style review I'm doing for games I play at conventions, so any and all feedback is appreciated. Remember to like, share and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at JTRPodcast to find the blog and the podcast at jtrpodcast.com. I've been Rob, aka JestaThaRogue, and I'll see you soon.